Rev up your engines! Before I started my YouTube channel 11 years ago, I used to do a TV gig. I did that on CBS TV for a couple of decades, and people are always saying, Scotty, whatever happened to those old videos you did? Well, I dug around in my messy garage and found a bunch of these old videos. So here's some old school Scotty. I found a problem with cars that make stooges of even good mechanics. And here's what it is. Now, cars are just like people. They have to breathe in, so make sure the filters are clean, but they also have to breathe out. Your car breathes out through the tailpipe. If the exhaust system is clogged up, it won't run right. And in modern day cars, it's usually the catalytic converter that clogs up. So I'm going to show you how to check them. Since the catalytic converter is on the bottom of the car, we're jacking it up so we can see it better. Well, here's the catalytic converter, but it's a sealed unit, so how do you check it? Well, I'm going to drill a hole and measure the exhaust pressure with this little gauge, and it'll tell us if it's clogged up. First, you drill a little 1/4-inch hole in the pipe.
Hey, Scotty, what are you doing to my car?
No, I've got these little metal plugs to fill the holes up when I'm done. Then you stick the gauge in the hole to measure the pressure behind the catalytic converter. We'll start the engine and see what the pressure is. Well, the pressure behind it is less than 1 pound. It's in the green, so it's fine behind. Now I'm going to drill a hole in front of the cat and measure the pressure there. Now, when I hook the hose up in front of the catalytic converter, it has almost 15 pounds pressure. That means that the pressure is building up in front of the catalytic converter because it's clogged up. It needs a new catalytic converter. And here's a couple mechanics tips. If your car has less than 70,000 miles on it, or is less than 7 years old, there's a federal warranty covering the catalytic converters. You get one for free. If it's older than that, or you have more mileage, go to a discount muffler store and they can weld a universal cat on and save you a whole bunch of money. So don't let your mechanic make a simple job complicated.
Now, you know, this looks like a simple job for simple people.
It only takes a couple minutes to check a catalytic converter. This is Scotty Kilmer helping you crank it up. There are times when two of the same thing really should give you the creeps. Like when you're changing your car's oil filter, you don't want to end up with 2 gaskets on top of it. You got that right, Jack? It's not Jack, it's Scotty. You want to change your car's oil and filter once every 3,000 miles, but due to the insidious nature of many engineers, they hide the filters in very strange places. As you can barely see, the oil filter on this car is hidden. You can grab it with your hand so you can take it off, but you can't see where the oil filter contacts the engine block, so the old gasket might be stuck on. Now, it's a very simple thing to check. When you take your old oil filter off, make sure the gasket is still on it, because if it's not, instead of looking like this, it'll look like this. There won't be a gasket inside, and you'll know it's stuck on the other side of the engine. Then when you get your new filter, when you screw it on your engine, there's already a gasket on the engine, so you've double gasketed it. And it might seal it for a while, but eventually the pressure will go and all the oil will leak out and your engine will blow. Now, this double gasketing is a pretty common problem today, more than it used to be, because of cheaper manufacturing processes. As you can see, this thing isn't held in very good. It comes out real easy. Now, they work perfectly fine once they're squeezed in. You only have to worry about them coming off when you remove the filter. So it's a simple test. When you take the old filter off, make sure the old gasket is still in there, because if it isn't, pull it off with your hands before you put the new filter on. Now, 2 gaskets on your oil filter can do some scary things to your engine. This is the Scotties helping you crank it up. Are you having a hard time getting a wiring system in your car fixed? Well, today's your lucky day, because I'm going to show you how to find wiring shorts in your car. All you really need is a little $8 test light. And I'm so cheap, when mine broke, I spliced the wire back together. If you think you've got a short in your car's electrical system, first make sure the headlights are turned off and no electrical accessories are turned on. Then go to your battery, loosen the negative terminal, and take it off. Then get the test light and take the alligator clip and put it on the negative terminal of the battery. Then take the pick end and shove it into the negative terminal of the battery, and if you noticed, the light is now on. Since the light came on, that means electricity is flowing and there's a short somewhere in the system. But we don't want to end up like Curly wondering where it is. So under the hood we go to the fuse box and take the cover off. Then pull the fuses out one at a time. With the fuse pulled out, see if the light has gone out. It hasn't, so we got to pull another fuse. Keep pulling out fuses until the light goes out. Now the light's gone out, so that's the circuit that has the short in it. Then you look on the top of the fuse box, it's for the cigarette lighter. So let's go inside the car. If you use your cigarette lighter all the time to recharge your cell phone, that can lead to problems in your cigarette lighter where you plug it in. These outlets weren't made to be plugged in and out thousands of times, and eventually they break, which is what's happened here. Okay, so it's called a power outlet today, but it's the same thing as a cigarette lighter. It just unscrews and you can buy a new base for it. So if you're having a hard time finding electrical shorts in your car,
I'll find this thing or else.
now you know how to find them. This is Scotty Kilmer, helping you crank it up. You may not know it, but most modern day air conditioning systems in cars are computer driven. And like hell, they can turn against you and you won't have any cold air. So this morning I'm going to show you how to bypass your air conditioning computer system with a simple little $30 thermostat switch. Your air conditioning clutch is turned on by an electric switch, and if the computer isn't working right, it won't turn it on. So here's how you can bypass all the computers. Unplug the switch, then get some wire and run wire from the switch inside the vehicle. There's a million holes in your car to go through. Where this cable goes through, there's a rubber outlet. Just push it through with a screwdriver, then run the wire inside. Then after you pull the wire through, connect one end to a toggle switch, which you can mount anywhere that you want. Just drill a little hole and bolt it in. Then you get your thermostat and connect the wire to the in right here. Now comes the hard part. This measures the temperature of your evaporator. On the Ford, the evaporator is right here in this plastic case. You drill a tiny little hole. Now be careful when you're drilling a hole, because you don't want to make a hole in the evaporator. You only need to drill it about that deep. Just find a nice part in the plastic tubing and then you get the end of the tube and push it in the hole until it rubs against the evaporator and it's touching it, so it measures the temperature. Then run a wire to the out to your battery. Now when you connect it to the positive terminal of your battery, make sure you use a fuse assembly to make the whole thing safe. This is a 10 amp fuse, which is good for the AC clutch. Now if your AC computer goes bad and you want to fix it the way it was designed, sometimes you have to spend $700 or $800. This little thermostat, hey, it only costs $30. Now this particular thermostat was designed for a Mazda, but they all work the same way. They measure the temperature in the evaporator, and you can set them colder or warmer by turning these little screws. Now they may not have them in stock, but they can order for you at any good auto parts store. They're not that expensive, and as you can see, they're very simple to put in. That's the way cars used to be when things were simpler and cost less to fix. So if your car's air conditioning computer hasn't been working right lately,
I know everything hasn't been quite right with me, but I can assure you now.
forget space-age technology. Buy yourself one of these $30 thermostats. This is Scotty Kilmer helping you crank it up. Normally you don't have to worry about machine gun fire taking out your headlights. Pebbles that come off gravel trucks on the highway can do just as much damage to your headlight. You wouldn't believe it, but some of these headlight assemblies cost over $200. But there's a way to fix some of these little holes. Now these modern light headlight assemblies aren't sealed beams assemblies. These are just covers. Inside is the bulb that's sealed by itself. The glass just keeps water and dirt from ruining the bulb and making it burn out. Now here's a cheap fix for small holes. Just get a little of this clear silicone sealer and squeeze it into where the holes are. Now before the sealant dries, get a little razor blade and scrape it flat. It'll dry in about 12 hours. So you might do it in the evening and let it dry at night while you're sleeping. Now if your headlight filled with water because there's a crack in it, you need to get rid of the water. Now pulling the whole assembly out and then draining it by turning it upside down is really hard work. It takes a long time. There's an easier way. Just reach inside, loosen the collar, and take the bulb out of the way. Get a rolled up paper towel and stick it in the hole to wick up the water that's inside. And you can get most of the water out by wicking it. You might need a few pieces of paper towel, but hey, they're cheap. And of course, every mechanic needs a hairdryer. No, not for your hair, to dry the rest of the water out. 10 or 15 minutes ought to be enough to dry the rest of it out. Now, if you don't want cracks in your glass in the first place, there's something you can do. There's many companies that make these plexiglass headlight covers. They snap over the headlights and keep the rocks from breaking the headlights. They'll bounce off the fiberglass, and in a worst case scenario, the plexiglass cover will crack. But they only cost about $30 a pair versus $200 or more for one headlamp. Now if you've got headlamp problems, taking the headlight assembly out is a real pain. But there is an easier way. But if you can, Watch out for that flying shrapnel on the road. This is Scotty Kilmer helping you crank it up. Are your tires letting you down? Well, you're in luck, because this morning I'm going to show you how to fix a flat tire. Jack the car up in the air so you can get the tire off. Now, if you have a hard time getting the lug nuts off, here's a trick. Just step on it. Legs are really strong. They come right off then. Now, once you get it off, then just pull the tire off and look for the problem. Well, this was easy. There's a nail in the tread, but if it's hard to find, here's a trick. Get some liquid hand soap and squirt a little bit in a jug of water. Then shake it up a little. Then you just pour the soapy water and move the tire. And when you get to where it's leaking, all the little bubbles start to come out. Then you just get one of these little tire repair kits that cost about $8. Then you have to get it out, which is the hardest part. You want to pull it out pretty straight. Then you get the reaming tool and stick it in the hole. You want to ream it around to make the hole round. Now there's a little trick to getting the plug on. You notice this is small. So you get a screwdriver and open the prongs a little bit wider. Then you stick the plug in. Voila! Then you get the rubber cement that it comes with and squirt it all over so it's coated and it'll stick good. Then just pull out the old one and plug in the new. In it goes. You push it until it doesn't push anymore, then you pull it out. And of course you don't want this ugly end sticking out, so you get a pair of clippers and you cut the ends off. Then use your little soap to see if it's leaking. It's not leaking anymore, it's fine. Don't forget to fill it up with air so it's ready to go. So now you know how to fix your own tire. Things haven't changed that much with tires since James Dean's time. This is Scotty Kilmer helping you crank it up. Do you have electronic bugs in your car? Well, if you do, you can zap them with this electronic fly swatter. Okay, so this really isn't an electronic fly swatter. What it is a sensor, and it senses electrical impulses on the new coil-on plug systems. Here's how cars are different from what they used to be. In older cars, you've got a distributor cap, rotor, and spark plug wires to send spark to the spark plugs. But in many modern day cars, they don't have a distributor and they don't even have spark plug wires. On this late model Toyota Camry, there's no spark plug wires. They have what's called coil-on plug. Each spark plug has its own ignition coil that's built right on top. And they're really hard to figure out if they work right. That is until this tool came out. Hit it on something solid to turn it on. You take the end of the wand and you stick it on the coil. When it's firing red like this, it means it's firing correctly. And if it's green, it means it's firing long enough to burn all the fuel. Let's check the ones in the back and see what they're doing. The one in the back isn't firing correctly, so it needs to be worked on. Hey, we found out what was wrong, and I didn't even get my hands dirty. Well, I'm going to get my hands dirty when I take the coil out, but hey, that's the life of a mechanic. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.